Alright, that's as good as it's gonna get. Welcome to As Told by Becca, where I just replant some of my stuff and tell you a story. Today, we'll be replanting this little baby that, if you saw on my Instagram, is the newest one. And the story, oh, my pots are like sour cream containers because recycle. The roots are not good on this. So the story today is Pride and Prejudice because it's my mom's favorite, or was for a long time. And the story starts out with the Bennet family, Elizabeth, Jane, or her older sister Jane, and the younger ones, Lydia, Kitty, and Mary. Now, so everything's going all hunky-dory, and then, you know, some rich guy comes to town. What's his name? Bingley. And the mom's like, oh, yay! Come and get my daughters married off, because that's the thing to do. Thank goodness my parents aren't like that. But so all of the girls attend this ball at Netherfield, where this guy Bingley, the rich guy, is staying, I guess. And you know, he takes a liking to Jane, the oldest, the calm, sensible one, very sweet and just very sweet. And his friend Darcy's there. And Darcy appears to be this kind of, you know the type that, I don't know, thinks he's above everybody else, that kind of thing. And so Mrs. Bennet sees him and she's like, oh, he makes so much more than Bingley. And go daughters, go get married off to these guys. But so, you know, Elizabeth, being the kind of feminist she is, she's like, he seems kind of trashy. Or not trashy. The best word to describe it is pompous. And she's like, I'm not dealing with that. That's a no from me. Ooh, look at all that white stuff. And of course, she overhears Bingley say, hey, why don't you go dance with Jane's sister, Elizabeth? She's pretty. And, you know, Darcy's like, psh, nah, she's not that pretty. You just think she is. And Elizabeth overhears that, and she's just like, whoa, alright, dude. Then, you know, things keep happening. Wickham comes along, and he tries to, like, seduce Elizabeth, but she's like, nah, you're not really my type. But you know whose type he is? Lydia's. And so, you know, he kind of tricks Lydia off into running away with him, you know, and soak that. So they end up running away together while Elizabeth is off at her aunt and uncle's house. And while she's with her aunt and uncle, they actually go visit Darcy's house, because that was the thing you could do back then, I guess, is visit rich people's houses when they're not home. Really weird. But turns out Darcy was home, or he got home, and you know, if you're like my mom, you'll love the scene in the 6-hour version where he comes out of the lake with the wet shirt, and yeah, that part. But anyway, so like Darcy's like, oh my gosh, Elizabeth, because you know he professed his love to her earlier, and I kind of skipped over that part. He's like, do you like my house? Have dinner with me. And she's like, sure, why not? And then, so she does, and she meets his little sister, the sweetest little girl, who, you know, had been tricked by Wickham before into, well, he was trying to get the money because, you know, they're rich. And so Lizzy now knows the whole story, that Wickham's bad. She doesn't know, of course, right now that Wickham has run off with her little sister. So she doesn't find out until later, after the dinner and stuff. And she does find out when she and her aunt and uncle go back to the place they've been staying, and she gets a letter. Huh. Interesting. Anyway, she gets a letter from her sister, Jane, the sweetheart, telling that, hey, Lydia ran off. And Lizzie's upset, of course, because she knows now that, you know, Wickham's a bad guy. Very bad guy. And who runs into her but our good friend Darcy. And in her little upset stage, she kind of reveals a lot of information about it, and he's like, oh, your sister ran off with Wickham. Not good. So while she thinks doesn't want to talk to her anymore, because, you know, Lydia brought shame to the family, he's really going into hero mode, and he's like, no, I will not let this happen. And, well, this one's going to be a cutting. And so, unbeknownst to her, he goes and, you know, finds Wickham and Lydia and is like, Wickham, now you have to marry her. And so he makes him marry her. And, you know, everything's all hunky-dory, but of course, you know, Lizzie's family doesn't know the circumstances that made him marry her, because they're not the richest, you know, they can't afford to get, oh my gosh, a spider. They can't afford to, you know, pay Wickham like a good dowry for Lydia, because poor Mr. Bennet's got 5 daughters, which means 5 dowries, and they're not the wealthiest to begin with. So it's all confusing, and then when Lydia and her new hubby are visiting, Lydia lets slip that Darcy was the one that actually found them. And Lizzie's like, what? I thought he hated me. And then she's like, oh my gosh, he still loves me. Oh, I wish I could see him. Then, you know, she does see him, because that's what happens in books. And so, because I skipped over a lot, because Bingley gets talked out of marrying Jane, because Darcy's like, dude, that girl's mom is crazy, and I don't know if this girl actually loves you. And Bingley's like, oh, maybe you're right. So he, you know, leaves for a little while. And then, you know, after, I don't know, a while ago, when Darcy first made his move on Lizzy and she, like, rejected him, she was like, dude, you ruined my older sister's life, and you you said I was ugly and I don't like you. And so, after all that, but before, there's, I keep skipping. I don't know. It was before her going to see Darcy's house and her being like, "Oh, nice house. That could have been mine." Because he proposed to her. And where was I? Anyway, so Bingley came back and he proposed to Jane, and the mom, or Mrs. Bennet's like, "Oh my gosh, this is another wedding, blah blah blah. This is so exciting," and and so when they go on a walk or something like that, and then Darcy's there, and he's like, "So Lizzy, I still have feelings for you. But you could tell me to shut up right now and I'll be done. I won't ask again. But would you marry me again?" Or, asking if she would marry him a second time. And she's just like, "Oh, my feelings are very much changed since the first time you asked, so yes I will." And then there's a double wedding. And the mom's like, "Oh my gosh, my daughters are marrying the richest guys in the area. This is so exciting, so happy, 3 daughters married, and blah blah blah." And, I'm happy. Okay. This is I put this in too big of a pot. Anyway, that's the end of that. This is a wandering dude, formerly known as Wandering Jews, but that is considered politically incorrect now, as I read the history at one point, and to me it didn't seem anti-Semitic, but I may not be remembering it correctly, because I don't remember things sometimes. But this is a wandering dude, and it is trailing, but if you just stick these that broke off right back in the soil, they'll root pretty easy. It's nice. Of course you have to water it. Let's see. How's that look? Covered in dirt. But yeah, that's Pride and Prejudice in a nutshell. Mom's favorite book. And if you've been forced to watch every single Pride and Prejudice movie ever made, including the 1940s one, I get you. I get it. And I'm sorry. Some are not the best, Well, I don't know. In my opinion, yeah, the 6-hour one is good. I like that modern one that was made in, I don't know, 2000 something, with, it was kind of based on the Church of Latter-day Saints, that kind of version, and it was, so funny, especially Bingley. I love Bingley in that one. But yeah, that's that. Yeah, that's that.